Hello friends, welcome to Programming Concepts. My name is Amit and this is part 23 of ASP.NET Core MVC tutorial. In this video, we will talk about views discovery in ASP.NET Core MVC. This is continuation to part 22, views in ASP.NET Core MVC. So please watch it before proceeding to this one. I shared the link in the description. So what is view discovery? As the name suggests, when an action returns a view, a process called view discovery takes place. This process determines which view file is used based on the view name. Simple process of identifying which view to render is known as view discovery. So let's get back to our code, and this is the project which we are working on. If you can see in index method, we write return view, and this method is taking the responsibility to find and render view for us. If we go to its definition, you can see we have 4 overloaded methods of views. We'll talk each one of them in just a bit. First, let's see how default view without parameters work. For that, let's rename our view and name it index1. Simple. Let's run the program. So if you look at the exception, you can see it is first trying to find a view in view/employee folder, which is controller name, and then in view/shared folder. First, let's create an index.cshtml file within the shared folder to confirm if everything is working as expected. All right. So create a shared folder. And then copy and paste index1.cshtml. Now rename it to index.cshtml and change the text to index view from shared folder. Simple. All right, let's run the program. And you can see the output as expected. Next, let's rename index1 to index in the employee folder and change the text to index view from employee folder. And let's run the program once again. And you can see the output as expected. It is returning view from employee folder. Let's get back to Visual Studio. And let's create another view in employee folder. And let's name it default. And also change the message from this view and type default view from employee folder. Now, how can we return this view? For that, let's go to the definition of views, right-click to view within the controller and go to its definition. Or you can simply press F12. Here you can see there are 4 overloaded methods of view. We already used the default one. And you can see the second option, expect view name as a parameter. And we will going to use that one. So within view, let's write default without extension, which is .cshtml. We need to avoid that because by default, it will going to find view only. Let's run the program and you will see the output as expected. All right. Now, what will happen if I use extension? Let's see that and add the extension .cshtml. And let's run the program. You can see the exception, and the exception is the view default.cshtml was not found. The following locations were searched, and the location is /default.cshtml. So when we define view name with extension, view discovery process trying to find view at the root level. Another way of saying this is when we use relative path, the extension is not required. When we provide absolute path, we need to provide extension. Here we have given extension, so View Discovery Engine presume that you are giving absolute path which starts from the root. Alright, simple, extremely simple. Absolute path with extension and relative path without extension. Extremely simple. Let's create one view at root level and see what will happen. Copy and paste the default view at root. And let's change the message to default view at root level. Now let's run the program once again. See, output is as expected. View rendered from root level. Next, what will happen if we need to render from any other folder? Let's say I want to render view from shared folder. Then there are multiple options. First is relative path, just like we use in HTML with double dot. So within view parameter in your controller, type ../shared/index. No need to specify extension. Can you guess why? Because we are giving relative path. Default path is folder with controller name within view folder. And we move relatively one step up from this folder. Alright, so let's run the program. And you can see the output is as expected. Let's see how we can pick same view via providing absolute path. So because absolute path works from root, so views/shared/index.cshtml. Simple. Let's run and see the output. And again, you can see the output is as expected. Now it's always a situation where you get some data from database or any file system and you want to render it via view. Like in our index method, we need to display list of all employees. So how we can send data from controller to view? For that, we need to use our third overloaded method of view. You can see here, which accept parameter of type object. So object is the top level in C# hierarchy. So you can use any type of object and pass it to view. Let's use that. We already get list of all employees. Let's try to pass this information to view. And let's run the program. And you can see we get the correct view, but employee information is not there. Because here we haven't used the object passed by the controller to view. Let's quickly use that as well. So within view, we are expecting the controller will provide us with a list of employees. So at model with small m, i.e. numerable of type employee. It will give an error because we haven't specified the namespace for employee class. So let's add the namespace, press Ctrl dot, and it is present under proconcepts.models namespace. Nothing extra you can see in controller as well. Here we used this namespace. Just like to use any class, we require its namespace. Similar, we are doing it here. Because it is a list of employee, let's loop through this object via razor syntax. So at for each, where let's say item in model. So object received by model object with capital M, bracket open, at html.display for, and let's say model item such that item.name. Let's break the line with BR and let's run the program once again. And you can see we are getting list of employees as well. Now, what will happen if we need to use other views and pass objects as well? In that case, we will use our last overloaded method of view. which expect view name or path as a first parameter and object as a second parameter. So let's see that. So view, and let's say default.cshtml as first parameter. And because I specify extension, it will take it from the root. All right, absolute path. And employees as a second parameter. Let's quickly copy and paste code from our index method. Let's copy and paste model and namespace and paste it into root default.cshtml. Then copy loop as well. And let's run the program once again. You can see the output is as expected. Now a quick question for you. In HTML, we use slash as well as tilde slash, right? What will happen if I write tilde slash at the front? Will it expect view name with extension or without extension? Let me run the program while you can think of the answer. And you can see the tilde sign is working with extension, because in HTML as well, both these symbols consider as an absolute path. All right. All right, then that's it in this video. If you have any queries related to the content of this video, do ask me in comments. Till then, thanks for watching.